if you were to define like what are the most impressive things about hydrogen, I mean, the first one is simply the fact that it targets the hydroxyl and peroxynitrite radicals, which are the most dangerous and abundant in the body. Mm-hmm. And our body makes these because you use oxygen to burn food. Okay,
right?
And you are giving off free radicals as a price. That's it.
Yes.
So you make massive amounts in the mitochondria all over the place. You're making all these free radicals, and those two are the worst.
Right.
And cause the most damage or the most powerful.
But not all free radicals are bad, right? Because that's one of the things that we need to.
And I'm getting to that.
Yes. Okay, go for it, because I think that gets so many questions and so much confusion about that.
But what it doesn't do, and other antioxidants don't come close to obliterating them at the veracity that hydrogen does, but hydrogen also does something else that no other antioxidant does. It turns, when it scavenges those two free radicals, it turns them into H2O.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When other antioxidants, as you know, go through a whole cascade, it becomes a prooxidant, an antioxidant, and it goes through this phase. But this is just simple. Annihilate, here's a few more water molecules for you. And it's like, what the heck? I mean, that's like a crazy antioxidant.
Yeah.
Then hydrogen being the smallest molecule in the universe, it has access to body compartments that with a speed that no other antioxidant come close to.
Like within organ tissue.
Like within organ tissue, with intracellular, et cetera. I mean, listen, if hydrogen goes through a glass bottle, trust me, it's going everywhere in your body.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, this is it's one of those interesting elements, not elements, but it's one of those interesting, elements, but compounds. It's an
element.
Yeah, indeed. That for me, it is again like helped both with recovery, but also too in overall cognitive functioning. What's the process going on there that's actually resulting in increased cognitive functioning?
Well, I mean, loss of cognitive function can involve, a loss of neurons. Okay,
mm-hmm.
As in Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease,
mm-hmm.
and it is simply it's access to your cerebral space, which is unparalleled, meaning it goes everywhere,
mm-hmm.
can annihilate the things that are creating the loss of neurons, stopping the reactions that produce the plaque, the cerebral or brain plaque, because those are just the result of reactions of oxidative stress, which is the base of all of this, is the creation of free radicals in your
mm-hmm.
body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the oxidative stress and neuroinflammation. I mean, you know it all 100 times better than I do. but the studies are insane.
Yes.
And one of the mechanisms is that hydrogen promotes the production of neuroprotective ghrelin in the stomach, which then ends up in the brain and has its benefits to the brain.
Right, indeed.
So right now, the Japanese are all over the neuroprotective Alzheimer's, Parkinson's studies. That's what's going on. They have like 100-person study going on with Alzheimer's, another study in Parkinson's. So you can't go wrong with hydrogen. There's not one darn contraindication to hydrogen.
That's another beautiful thing about hydrogen is no contraindications to it. Very similar to ketone. I know we mentioned one, but that was just one.
Yeah.
And so you really can't go wrong with it. And I love that it is really selective, and it doesn't just kill off all free radicals. Because a lot of people, they just want to say, I'm going to take a bunch of curcumin, I'm going to take a bunch of resveratrol, I'm going to take a bunch of turmeric, so that I can kill off all these free radicals and have all these antioxidants floating around in the blood. But they don't realize that a lot of times too, when they flood their bodies with all of these antioxidant properties, they kill off some of the free radicals that we do need for functioning.
Those free radicals that are useful like hydrogen peroxide and singlet oxygen and nitric oxide, okay? Those act in a special category. They act as redox signaling molecules.
Right.
The signaling, I'm going to make this kind of silly. The signaling molecules are like smoke messages, between two camps.
Yeah.
They let other cells in the body, they direct them as to what course of metabolic action they should take. That's what signaling molecules do. And if you neutralize them with excess antioxidants, your cells are going to be a little bit confused about what to do. And that's what we've learned about hydrogen. It doesn't touch the redox signaling molecules.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
It's like too good to be true.
It is, but it's something too. Again, we have to produce better education on this, and I'm glad that you've come on here and you've gone on to many other podcasts to talk about this, because hydrogen water is something that I think that people truly do need to know about. But also too, I feel like there are some companies out there that are duping people, and I say this because, and again, I'm not going to call out the company, but let's just say I've actually been sent multiple bottles, electrolysis bottles, and when I've tested the H2 content, there was one bottle that was sent to me that it was 0. I put one drop of the H2 blue in, and it went blue, and it stayed blue. And so I'm just curious, like, do you buy into these electrolysis bottles?
Yes and no.
Okay.
First, there's probably 100 different manufacturers or models of electrolysis bottles, meaning the ones that you can kind of put in your knapsack, the small ones. Okay, that's one of them. And to get anything really over like 1.5 parts per million in that size vessel, to get anything over 1.5, you have to run it multiple times. I mean, it may take you 10 or 15 minutes. If you did that, you probably can go up to 2.5 parts per million. Okay? Right. Is 2.5 parts per million useful? Any amount of hydrogen is useful. I will tell you that. But a tablet like you're using, Active H2 Ultra, it's between 8 and 10 parts per million, and it makes it in 1 minute.
Yes, and so that's actually what I've been getting. I've been getting 10 every single time. I've never gotten as low as 8. I get 10 every single time I've tested. Now, granted, I haven't tested that much, but I've tried it out.
Perfect, and the test isn't. I always tell people, listen, that test isn't the most fun test.
Exactly. Sit there, drop, spin a little thing around. Yeah, I feel like a back in the old research scientist days doing that though. So it feels fun.
And even the stirring of it to mix it, it releases hydrogen. So you don't even really measure all of it.
Yes, indeed. And so is that when you were creating kind of these tablets? Was that 8 to 10 parts per million kind of what your aim was? Were you looking to say, I want to get it at that high? Or?
No. Because, and here's the interesting thing, virtually all of the studies, probably the bulk of the studies, there were no tablets when the studies were made. People didn't even use electrolysis when the tablets were made. They just used tanks of gas, of hydrogen gas, and they infused it into water in a bottle or glass. But when you do that, unless you want to make it complicated and infuse it under a lot of pressure, all you can get is the atmospheric solubility of hydrogen, which is 1.6 parts per million.
Oh, yeah.
So all the tests were done with 1.6 parts per million, and the studies are mind-blowing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And so is there a diminishing return on the amount? So like what I'm asking is, if you do have something as high as 8 to 10 parts per million, are you going to get a much more increased effect or exaggerated effect than compared to, the 1 point, whatever you said, parts per million?
I believe the expert Tyler DeBaron will tell you absolutely without question.
Interesting.
And that studies really need to be redone.
Yeah.
With this, I mean, real studies, not just testimonials, but real studies need to be redone with this. Okay. For instance, we've had incredible results with this level of hydrogen for metabolic syndrome. Okay, I mean, like, half the population has metabolic syndrome.
Yeah,
and I couldn't think of an easier way to address it than hydrogen. But I don't think we would have achieved it if we only had 1.5 or 1.5 parts per million, like the atmospheric saturation. We had to have a super saturated solution.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and you know some of the mysteries? Here's some enigmas. Some of the enigmas, and this is important for you because you're a nervous system, neurological interested doctor, is that no one can, the scientists do not fully understand why hydrogen infused water seems to do so good compared to inhaled hydrogen.
Yeah.
Okay? This remains a mystery. And in fact, many of the studies, it does better, even with special commercial hydrogen generators.
Interesting.
More than you could have at home. So this is not fully understood. But the thing that really blows everybody's mind, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but the bodies, if you have a proper microbiome, the body makes at least 5 to 6, perhaps more, liters of hydrogen in the gut. And they can't understand, if you're making this much hydrogen, we really don't understand what the body's unique use for this hydrogen is, because it's not doing anything for the person's health condition, which we solve with a tablet of hydrogen water. Okay? That's another enigma.
That is. Thanks for listening to the Hanu Health Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. This podcast would not happen without listeners and supporters like you. And the best way to support us and the show is to head on over to iTunes and provide us with a 5-star review. This helps us reach others and spread the good word of breathing and stress resiliency. If we read your 5-star review on air, please reach out to podcast@hanuhealth.com with your name and mailing address, and we will send you some sweet Hanu gear. Until next time, breathe better and stress less.